Today's topic is how to lead from within, and hopefully by the end of the show, you'll be inspired to focus internally in order to unlock your leadership potential.
Welcome to the Well Woman Show, where we interview women executives, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
And you're listening to the Well Woman Show,
where motivated women achieve fulfillment and well-being.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
Take time for myself by coming to things like Well Woman Drinks.
To be accepting of myself no matter what. Step away from judgment as much as possible.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
You're going to be in for a good ride. I don't regret anything. Everything I've ever done, I've learned from it, one way or another, good or bad.
Being a little bit selfish for yourself, put your own oxygen mask on first and then give what's left.
I'm a woman. I would prefer to tell my own story. My story, though it's very personal, is universal.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show. And now your host, Giovanna Rossi.
Hi, Giovanna Rossi here, and welcome to another episode of the Well Woman Show, where I interview women leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs about their lives and their road to becoming and being who they are today. Are you feeling burned out or finding it hard to focus on your goals? Or are you in transition? Well, you're not alone. We all need to activate our superpowers. These are the internal strengths and abilities we all already have but don't use all the time. Superpowers can be cultivated, and they include empathy, love, intuition, courage, and more. As always, this episode is brought to you by Well Woman Life, a global community of women living our best lives. Whether it's your health, relationships, your money, or making an impact in your community and the world, Well Woman Life has you covered. You've made a commitment to not settle, to use your voice, and to live your best life. Well Woman Life offers annual memberships, workshops, and retreats to support you. Check out wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join our growing community. Now back to the show. Today's topic is how to lead from within, and hopefully by the end of the show, you'll be inspired to focus internally in order to unlock your leadership potential. This topic dovetails really nicely with our Well Woman Life framework, which tells you which stage of the Well Woman Life cycle you're in and what to do about it so you can truly live your best life. You can find out more about that and take the 2 quick question quiz at wellwomanlife.com/quiz. On the show today is my guest and friend, owner of Bold Arrival, Heather Robertson, who guides budding leaders to seasoned pros to inspire and realize their best work. She leads professional trainings, yoga, and meditation programs, and has advised hundreds of women and men from the state level to the private sector. She launched and subsequently sold her first business by the age of 35 and currently co-owns a premier outdoor adventure company on 65 acres in northern New Mexico, in addition to Bold Arrival. On the episode today, you'll learn why leadership needs to start internally, how to recognize the bold arrival moments that can be life-changing, why having a morning routine can help you be kinder to yourself, and a lot more. So definitely stay tuned. We've got a great show for you. You can find more information and links as well as this week's giveaway at wellwomanlife.com/111show. And this week's giveaway is a really cool handout from Heather Robertson that really leads you through this process of going internal to really unlock your own leadership potential. So definitely check it out, wellwomanlife.com/111show. And you can also continue the conversation with us in the Well Woman Life community group at wellwomanlife.com/Facebook. I'm so thankful for support from Natural Awakenings magazine in New Mexico, a green monthly healthy lifestyle publication. I absolutely love this magazine. The publisher has done an amazing job with this, and these magazines are available all over the country, but the one in New Mexico really focuses on some incredible things that are happening here in the Southwest, and really high caliber, high quality articles and information. If you're in the healthy living, spiritual space, you definitely want to check it out. And I also am very thankful for support from High Desert Yoga, promoting optimum physical health, clarity of mind, and spiritual inspiration for all. And I can personally vouch for High Desert Yoga. I absolutely Love them and their classes. And for those of you not in the New Mexico or Southwest area, they do fabulous national and international retreats. So if you're looking for a yoga retreat, definitely check them out, High Desert Yoga. Now to my interview with Heather Robertson. I'm speaking with Heather Robertson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. The first thing I want to ask you, Heather, is what are you working on right now, and how does it impact women's lives and well-being?
Well, within Bold Arrival, we have Bold Arrival dailies, and everyone gets an email who's part of the Bold Arrival community, and they get a morning inspiration, essentially, and they're very simple nuggets of wisdom that I've gleaned over the years. And I'm sharing that as what I'm working on because the response women have been having is pretty amazing as far as staying on track every day, staying focused, sticking to what really matters in their lives as opposed to just all the little minutia that can really distract us. So it's been actually quite beautiful to see how the dailies have been affecting people.
Okay, and we heard a little bit about Bold Arrival in the introduction, but I want you to really tell listeners what this is and what it is and what do you do?
Bold Arrival is technically an inspiration and leadership development company. So I work with senior leaders in their development of skill and transformational leadership. And then I also leverage inspiration. And inspiration is really the yoga and the meditation that comes into it. Because the more we're inspired, the more we tend to have solutions to challenges, the more we tend to stay more open-minded when things become difficult. And then also we tend to have a lot more acceptance when we might not otherwise have that. So Bold Arrival seeks to inspire, but the other part of Bold Arrival is that it accentuates life as a personal adventure. So having an adventurous mindset and experiencing Bold Arrival moments, which are moments that move you in such a way that you're never quite the same after. And I'm sure we've all experienced these moments where we've been doing something and it could be subtle like a whisper, or it could be like a symphony of an experience that just moves you. But either way, it stops you a little bit and it causes you to change course. And really life sets you up for one Bold Arrival to the next. So it's those moments that change and inspire you and your direction or your relationships. But it is quite beautiful to see Bold Arrival moments support people on their path from leadership to other relationships.
And so what is give us an example of what that might be.
Well, I'll share a personal example. So about 3 years ago, I had a consulting company and I was going in one direction with it. And at the same time, my husband was starting a wilderness company. And we had some good friends of ours who are videographers come over and create the video. And so I've always been interested in video and cameras. And, I don't need to go out and be a part of that necessarily, but I love being around it and being around that high level of creativity. And so Scott was letting me look through the camera, and the way Scott films is everything's really up close and slow and very detailed. So I was, like a fly on his shoulder looking through the lens, and my husband Matt was walking through a sandy arroyo. And the camera picked up the granules of sand that were flipping up from his sandal, and the sun reflected off one of the granules of sand, and there were just all these rays of light. And as simple as that may sound, it stopped me in the moment. And I get a little emotional about, just even like talking about it now, because for whatever reason, in that moment, it was a whisper. It was just a feeling. It was being moved by the sun, moved by the sand, moved by the high level of creativity around me. And in that moment, I made a choice. And at that point, I couldn't tell you what that choice was, but I made a decision, and I knew at most it was nature was going to be a part of everything I do moving forward. So over the next 2 months, I didn't do anything. I just decided I needed to kind of reorganize. And in that time, my business reorganized itself and everything slowed down. And a lot of money that I had invested in my company was getting, shall we say, wasted. So there was a lot of acceptance in that. And so that one moment, that Bold Arrival moment, the sand and the light and the beauty was a doorway, and I could have listened to that, or I could have looked at it like, oh, isn't that just beautiful? But I really allowed it to come into me and experience me in a different way. And so 2 months after that experience, I became co-owner of that wilderness company, reorganized my own company, and Bold Arrival was born. And Bold Arrival is all about that inspiration and leadership skill to be inspired, engage in the action, and create change in your life and in the lives of others.
Okay, that's a great story. And I want to ask you, in that moment when you were looking through the lens that you described, in order to hear that message or that have that feeling, and not just dismiss it like, oh, isn't that just beautiful? And like, let's move on. But in order to really sit with that and be open to that, you had to have done a lot of, I don't know, preparation or something that you may not even have known you were doing to be in that moment at that time. So is that part of the training?
Definitely. Really what happened is, number one, I was relaxed. I was available for something to come in. I wasn't tight and constricted. I was more expanded and just enjoying the moment as it was at that time. I wasn't judging anything. I wasn't looking at my watch for the next thing. I was very present in the moment. So yes, there's a lot of training, and I've had a lot of training, and so I'm sure that assisted. But I've worked with many women since, and the bottom line is slow down. The bottom line is relax. It's let go, it's surrender, and we all hear those words. And at the same time, there's a level of trust, woven into that. So bold arrival moments, if we start paying attention to them, will actually support you to relax even further, because then the signposts are going to be there for you, which are those bold arrival moments guiding you on to the next thing. So whether you do a strategic plan or a business plan, woven into that are all these bold arrival moments you don't even know about yet that are actually going to support you on to the next goal or the next directive. So it's really co-creating with the world around you rather than just being on your own by yourself, which I think sucks the joy right out of being in business when it's just you. Yet if you realize that you're co-creating with another type of energy in the world, with your life experience, then it becomes very rich and juicy and exciting, and you want to know and be available for the next thing.
Okay, and you said that your audience is leaders. How do you define a leader?
Giovanna, that's a very good question. I would define a leader as one who is willing to go inside themselves and challenge what they know to be true. I think leadership begins from within, and then that will blossom the leader in the external world. A lot of the senior leaders that I work with and business owners, it's often that the skills we work on are the deeper, innate skills that they just want to develop further. So to keep it very simple, a leader is someone who's willing to take risk and know what that risk means to them, and change and grow and evolve so that they can become a much stronger person in the world.
Okay, I kind of thought you were going to say something like that. So I'm glad I asked that question, because I think a lot of listeners may think that when you say you want to work with leaders, that might not be them because they are not leading an organization, or maybe they don't have their own business, or, whatever. But actually, in the way I define leadership too, is that everyone is a leader or a potential leader, that we all have leadership, skills, and we just have to activate them and train ourselves in different ways. So that is leadership.
I would say leadership is actually really about self-mastery. At the end of the day, that's what it is. You're mastering yourself so that you can create the change within yourself and out in the world. And so it's really a training. And that's why I believe anyone can lead, whether they're running a business, being a mom, leading in the family, being a wife. It just matters that you're willing to work on yourself more than anything else every day.
Okay, but we do have a lot of leaders, quote unquote leaders, who are given that title because of their job title, and actually they're not doing a lot of inner work. So what about those people?
I think those people tend to be unhappy in the long run. I think it's unsustainable to be successful in leadership if you're unwilling to self-reflect. I think self-reflection is one of the priorities for being a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can think of a few leaders that might need some self-reflection. I won't mention any names, but it does seem like we are at a time in the world, in this country and in the world, where leaders and leadership, in terms of the inner work as well as the outer work, is really necessary in order to collectively move forward as, as people.
I would say with all my training in yoga and meditation, one thing I've realized is this discussion of inner work and outer work, internal, external. When you look at leadership as just a life skill and that's it, and not create anything more out of it, it becomes very simplified. And so leadership, to me, itself evolves if you work on yourself, if you just slow down, take in a breath, practice yoga, go running, whatever it is that brings you into that quiet, peaceful state, that will help you evolve your leadership. So to me, the internal, external, I know I mentioned it earlier, that does exist. And at the same time, it's all really woven together and not separate in a duality. And I think a lot of people go into leadership thinking, I've got to do this inner work, and then I've got to do this external application. And yes, that's how wisdom is born, is when you apply and go out in the world and utilize what you're learning. However, before you know it, it all becomes one, and it blends together, and the duality and the veils, they drop, and leadership becomes innate. And I think that's possible for anyone, honestly.
Okay, I'm speaking with Heather Robertson. We're talking about leadership, about bold arrivals, and inner work and outer work and everything else, and we'll be right back. I'm back with Heather Robertson, and we're moving into the segment called Superpowers for Success. The first question I want to ask you, Heather, is what does success in life mean for you?
Another good question. Success to me, I always look at success in a way of physical success, mental success, emotional success, and spiritual success. And I do that in that way because it keeps it simplified for me. Physical success is taking care of my body. Emotional success is staying in check and remaining neutral, being joyful, having attitudes of love and acceptance and not judgment. Mental would be peace of mind and how to do that and maintain the balance. And if I can have a peaceful mind on some level, I am out in the world doing my work, so I do have a busy mind like the rest of us, and it does require work to stay balanced. But success to me mentally is recognizing when I've lost track and I'm on the brain train and getting off and getting back and coming back to the peace of mind. And then spiritually successful really just means having that co-creative relationship with my adventurous spirit, with my best self, with my soul. That is a huge piece. If I don't have that interwoven to the other three, I actually don't feel very successful. So for me, my adventurous spirit is part of the whole package. And I was talking to you about this earlier. I love money. And so for me, I do have money as part of that success. I think money is an interesting element in the world. And for me, I have a goal in mind and a way I want to focus and a way I want to live my life. So I don't define my success through money, but I definitely have it as a goal, as a level of success that I'm going for.
And Heather, when did you know you were really good at what you do?
Actually, that was very recent. I've been in this a long time, teaching yoga and meditation and working with leaders and having a leadership consultancy and being in business for myself. But it was a talk I gave this past November, 2017, where I gave a talk about bold arrivals and invited the participants of the retreat to be with those bold arrival moments as they unfold throughout the week. And it was amazing witnessing all the women having these bold arrival moments with each other, with inspiration. They were instantly starting to pay attention to these moments that were moving them instead of pushing them aside like they were just something. And I'll think or write about it later, but they had a way to make it tangible and recognize it as something. And so it was in that moment that I was so eternally grateful more than anything. It was that level of gratitude, and that was the indicator for me, because I was able to convey a way to be in the world and work with what opportunities come and then take the action. And it just helps people gain traction. So
did you have that feeling when you saw other women, how they were reacting to you? Or did you have that feeling just based on an internal feeling of, oh my God, I'm rocking this talk?
It was actually all of that and instantaneously. It was all in an instantaneous moment that I didn't overanalyze. It was a deep knowing that I've got it. And I'm really excited to explore it more.
Okay. And Heather, describe one personal habit that contributes to your well-being.
My morning practice, without a doubt. So in yoga, there's the morning sadhana practice. And for me, that's what gets me on track every morning. And I think that whatever it is for anyone, I highly recommend having a routine in that way. I also have what I call a worry box. So if there's something cycling around in my mind and I just can't get off the brain train, and no matter what I do, it's just still right there, then in the morning I will create a piece of, tear off a piece of paper and put my worry on it and just put it in the box, close the lid and call it a day and just move on and let go. Because I feel like a lot of things are out of our control. And there's one saying I always love that I actually saw on a billboard somewhere that says, relax, everything is out of control. And so the worry box is helpful, but it's my morning routine for sure. And if I don't have a lot of time, I have 5-minute routines, 10-minute routines. And routines, when I use that word, could be focusing on my breath for 3 minutes. Could be just practicing a sun salutation to move my body. Could be the breath of fire, or it could be just taking a walk outside while the sky turns from night to dawn. Just whatever it is. But that time in the morning is the piece for me.
Yeah, I totally get that. I really love my morning routine. And like you say, it doesn't have to be the same every day, but it's a routine. It's something that you do, that you focus on, that you prioritize.
I would say in union with that, it would be being really kind to myself is a huge piece to my well-being and all of that. So I would say it's that morning routine, and it's also being really kind to yourself like you would be kind to someone else, loving yourself like you would love someone else.
So that sometimes sounds really vague and abstract. What exactly do you mean?
So, sometimes when we have internal conversation and it's like, I don't know if I like what I'm wearing today. I don't know if I like how I feel. Oh God, why did you put that on? Or why did you say that? I wish I could go back and change that. Those kinds of inner dialogues are negating where we all want to go. And so that's not being very kind to yourself or very loving. It's being judgmental, unaccepting, and very conditional upon how we are. And if you were with someone that you love unconditionally, or someone that you care about, or just anyone, you wouldn't just go up to them and say, well, I really didn't like that. What you said was horrific. That might happen every now and then, but you wouldn't really want to do that. So I'm just talking about the balance between the external and the internal, so that, again, the duality can fall away, and it's just, for example, acceptance across the board, happiness across the board. It's not one or the other.
Mm. Okay. And what superpower did you discover you had only to realize it was there all the time?
My ability to inspire. Definitely. I've never, ever thought that I was very inspirational until I just decided to go for it and run my Bold Arrival Dailies. And the Bold Arrival Dailies do not include quotes from other people or anything like that. It is all from my own wisdom that I've gleaned from years of my work. And I really did it initially I have a lot of senior leaders that are exceptionally busy and they have high stress. And so they asked if I would email them every day to just keep them on track and focused and not fall off track in a sense. And I started to see the response and I was actually delightfully surprised. And then I just started sharing them with other people and it just has grown. And I've realized I'm actually pretty inspiring and I had no idea.
And that's probably always been there. Yeah. Okay. And we'll link to that in the show notes for people who want to connect with those inspirational emails. And Heather, what do you do when you have a setback? Like when something happens that really kind of knocks you down, how do you get back up and keep going?
There's actually quite a few ways I do that. So I'm just reflecting on the most primary. First and foremost, when something has knocked me off like that, off my focus, I immediately know I need to have a healthy diet. So I don't actually go get the glass of wine or get the drink or eat a bag of chips or eat the ice cream or any of that. I don't go see a movie. For me, my diet gets clean immediately because what you take in affects your mind. It affects everything. And I know if I'm off track or if something like that has caused me to pause, which I've had quite a few moments where, like, for example, when I decided to leave it and go with the Wilderness Company and create Bold Arrival, there was a lot of money shifting and I had to have a lot of acceptance. And so I just knew that my body needs to be strong, number one. So I stay clear-headed and focused and capable of showing up for whatever comes next and to remain fair and open to people. So for me, it's clean diet, clean body, clean focus. And that would be my number one. And then definitely the meditation is my go-to. So I have all kinds of meditation techniques that you never know, or breathing techniques, I should say, you would never know I'm doing and you're standing right in front of me. And it's a way for me to maintain equilibrium inside. So, and then maybe I have a good cry because sometimes it's emotional or it's big, and it's kind of a showstopper. So, but first and foremost, clean body, clean diet.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because not many people answer that question that way because a lot of people want to talk it out with someone or go get the ice cream or like all these other things.
Well, yes, that's true. I think for me, it's a form of self-leadership and self-mastery. And that's just an example of it, is saying, okay, this sucks, excuse the expression, but this is tough or whatever. But if you can self-empower in the moment like that and become stronger because of it, that's the real jewel. And so for me, it's all about self-mastery and coming back to myself for the answers. So that's an example.
I love that because on the Well Woman Show and in my work, I talk a lot about using your own inner superpowers, things that you already have access to that you just don't always use. And that idea that you can be the answer. You don't have to go searching and hunting and finding and, all of that you have the answer within you and you can do that self-mastery and really gain control over your environment again. Heather, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
She was a crazy one, so I'd tell her to slow down. No, but seriously, I would love to give her a long hug. I'm going to get emotional about this one. Yeah, I'd love to give her a long hug and let her know she can trust herself. That she really does know exactly what she wants, and she really doesn't need anyone else to tell her what's right for her. So I'd give her a big hug and tell her she's on it.
I love that. We're both sitting here crying because it does. It's like it takes you right back to that, that younger self, even that little girl. Even though I said 25 years old, it's like taking you back to that younger person that you just wanted to be so compassionate with and that you were so hard on. And I think that's a lesson for everyone, listeners, let's be compassionate with ourselves.
Definitely. I think in our early 20s, I know for me, there was a sense of newfound freedom in a lot of different ways too. And I couldn't quite see the path ahead of me. And so I didn't trust myself enough, and just trusting what you know to be true, even though everyone around you says it's not. It's a big step to say, I'm going to go forward anyways. So that's why I would give her the longest hug and let her know that she's totally got it.
And Heather, last couple questions here to wrap up this show today. Do you identify as a feminist?
No. Actually, I don't define myself as a feminist. I've done a lot of work around this, and for me, I'm more about balancing the female on the inside, and I think this is true for men and women. And so I am all for the feminine in the sense of women really stepping into what they bring to the world. I think men bring something very different. And what I see is a massive imbalance between the male and the female on the inside, and it's being expressed out in the world. So I definitely don't box myself into that term. However, I do believe in women fully coming into what they're here to do in the world. I do encourage everyone to work on their internal female and their internal male and watch the difference that it would create in the world. It would be quite beautiful. So.
Oh, okay. That's a whole other show. We'll have to get back to that one because I want to ask you more about that. Last question. What are you reading right now? What's on your nightstand?
Well, it's so funny. I'm reading The Effective Executive, and it's an older book. I actually got it from Tim Ferriss. I just happened to be on YouTube and Tim Ferriss popped up. And I mean, it's just so random how it all came together, but he just held up this book and said, read The Effective Executive. So I downloaded it right away. And it's a little old school where he refers to he, the leader, as opposed to the she. And so maybe there's a little bit of feminist in me there. But so I still cringe a little at that. But what he has in that book is timeless. It's amazing. And I think it will really change how people perceive what they take for action every day with their deliverables and everything else. So The Effective Executive, older but good.
Okay, and we'll link to all that on the show notes. Heather, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Jivan. I've loved it.
That's it for our show today. Remember, if you need support to live your Well Woman life, head over to wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join us. Our monthly live event, Well Woman Drinks, brings women together to share our successes and challenges as women, leaders, moms, aunts, sisters, and all the other roles we carry. If you'd like to attend a Well Woman Drinks near you, or if there isn't one in your city yet and you'd like to start one, email info@wellwomanlife.com. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment and subscribe in iTunes and leave a review. This helps raise visibility, which is super helpful when it comes to producing the show every week. For feedback, comments, or just to let me know you were listening today, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @WellWomanLife. I'm Giovanna Rossi for The Well Woman Show. Until next time, have a super powerful week.